Hello and welcome to the Capital Conversation with me, Michael Hayman. Now in tech, it might be blockchain, but it's London's block drains that has been the source of success for Charlie Mullins, the founder of Pimlico Plumbers, and he is my guest today. Bog 1 and Lav 2 are just some of the registration plates that adorn his iconic fleet of blue vans. Add to this his outspoken views and you get one of the city's top campaigning entrepreneurs. Charlie, welcome. Great to have you on the show.
Yeah, great to be here, Michael. Thanks very much. Great introduction.
Thanks very much. Well, I'll take that. I'll bag that. Now, the year I want to take you back to is 1979. Margaret Thatcher's just become the first female Prime Minister. Blondie tops the charts. The Jubilee line's getting going, and you're getting going. Pimlico Plumbers is just opening the doors in its very first few days of trading. Give us the start-up story. What was it like back then, setting up the business?
You mentioned Margaret Thatcher, first of all, 1979, and you're right, and she was my inspiration. I think she gave a lot of people an opportunity to buy their property, to go into business and actually succeed in life.
So she was an inspiration to set up a business?
Undoubtedly, you know, and from that moment, you know, I set up Pimlico Plumbers in Pimlico. We had one room in a basement, in an estate agent there, and we started off there. And if I'm being honest, you know, I was working in the Pimlico area, and the estate agent, you know, was getting me loads of work in that area. And then people started calling me the Pimlico plumber because I never moved out of there. He offered me a room one night. He rung me up and said, "Look, I've got this spare room in the basement. You know, it's all damp and, you know." Anyhow, I thought, what do I want an office for? You know, plumbers don't have offices. That's mad, you know. Yeah. And, you know, I didn't sleep. I thought about it for a week and thinking, this is madness. Anyhow, get the office up and running, and then started employing a few more people on, and then, you know, I just added an S to the name, you know, and here we are, Pimlico Plumbers.
Well, take us forward to now, 2017. When you see your vans flying around all over London, tell us how it feels being an owner, an entrepreneur of a business when you see a very visible sign of what you've created.
Well, I mean, you know, there's no business like your own business, Michael, and we have 250 vans on the road at the moment. We're a growing company. We're turnover's going to be 40 mil this year. Things are going great. We've got 400 people on their books now, and you know, we have headquarters of 35,000 square foot in very centrally based in London. We've just got another 35,000 square foot of parking, yard, everything very local to where we are. We've opened a plumbing shop.
So you've got a big business there. But when was there a point in time when you just thought, I'm really onto a winner with this? What was the kind of the tipping point of, no, I'm running a business to actually I'm starting to run something which is going to go to another level?
Yeah, I would probably say in 2000. I mean, we had a recession in, I think it was early 90s, and we nearly went bust. Didn't have it right.
How close did you go to going bust?
We went and see 2 liquidators, and at the end of the line was going to be my house and everything I owned. And one said, chuck it all in and start again. And the other one said, you know, you may as well fight for it. And that's what we've done.
Right. I mean, because you're one of the entrepreneurs that, you know, you quite often think you hear your name, you make it look easy. But how difficult is it behind the scenes?
Well, I think it's difficult, but I believe the bigger the business it gets, the easier it becomes, because you employ more and more people, and your business is as good as the people that work for you. And, you know, undoubtedly, we've got a great team behind us on Pimlico.
But do you feel like, you know, you talked about the kind of 1979 story. If you fast forward that to where we are today, do you still feel that sense of, it's my baby, I've got the same emotional connection with the business?
Probably more
How does it
so
manifest
than ever.
itself?
Yeah, well, probably more so now, because now, you know, I feel more responsible for 400 people, and, you know, we've taken on, you know, various members of their family, daughters, sons, grandchildren. I have grandchildren. I think I've got about 4 on the company at the moment. I know,
so it's a proper family business.
I know you think I don't look old enough, but I am. Yeah, it's a proper family business, and, you know, 2 sons work there.
Will they take it over, do you think? You know?
Undoubtedly, yeah. Right. You know, I mean, Pimlico hopefully continue the way it's continued. Yeah. No.
So you left school at 15. What did you think you were going to do back then?
Well, I was going to be a plumber. There's no two ways about that.
So was there a moment? So how did you get into it? Was there a meeting or?
Well, basically, you know, when I was at school, I used to bunk off school and help a local plumber. He had a motorbike, car, loads of money, and the seeds were sown then. I was always going to be a plumber. Left school at 15, big mistake. Very little education, no qualifications, and looking back, I realised I should have left at 14.
Do you think that that lack of qualifications, has it ever worried you? Has it ever been anything?
Not at all.
Not at all.
No.
And do you think more people should go straight into work?
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, there's life without a degree, and it's all about enthusiasm and willpower and wanting to succeed. It's not about brains.
I mean, I often always think of you as like a proper London entrepreneur, somebody that's made it in this city. Is there something about London and success? Is there something about the sort of entrepreneur that these streets turn out?
Well, I think, if you can't make it in London, you can't make it anywhere. And I don't think it's as difficult as I think the problem with a lot of businesses, people complicate it. And if you think about it, Michael, we turn up on time, we do the job, we collect the money. What's difficult about that?
Well, a lot of younger entrepreneurs are in tech. There are lots of other areas. What do you make of the generation that's coming online now in terms of, because I always think of you as like the generation that turned the wheel in terms of how entrepreneurs are viewed. What do you make of the new generation, the millennials that are coming through?
Yeah, well, I think you've got a mixture. I mean, undoubtedly now we look up to people that become an entrepreneur and people that have done well in business, where I think years ago we was a bit more, we didn't like success. Now we like it, and it's trendy now to have your own business. It's trendy now to be an entrepreneur, and that's what youngsters want to do.
Do you think they've got the same grit as the sort of 70s, 80s entrepreneurs?
I think obviously it's a different era, but it's same meat, different gravy, isn't it? They want to be successful, and there's a lot of youngsters out there. And I think the good news is now you've got so many of these programs out there, so many books, so many sort of I think it's internet that you can get a lot more advice and help. So I would say, we've got a buzzing sort of generation of entrepreneurs coming through.
But when you started, it was a very different reputation, I guess, a very different set of barriers to overcome in terms of
that's right,
becoming an
yeah. I
entrepreneur.
mean, you had a load of busybodies that don't want you to be successful. A lot of, the old school people and, people where it wasn't normal, say, for, say, people off of a council estate to do well in life. But now that's more acceptable. And, so many businesses out there have come from sort of, poor backgrounds. And, I've done an apprenticeship, and so many apprentices these days are being successful.
And do you invest in apprentices now with the business? I mean, is that a kind of career path that you're sort of supporting?
Undoubtedly. Without apprentices or apprenticeships, there'd be no future Pimlico plumbers or many other businesses. We have 50 apprentices on board, and, we're taking on more and more. You're probably aware, I think I've been working with the government quite closely on getting more and more youngsters into an apprenticeship, and it's starting to work. Yeah.
Right. Now, you've made the point, I was reading something an interview, actually, where you were talking about, we've done well on startups, but why haven't we done the same with scale-ups in terms of that next step? If I was to ask you to answer your own question as to why we haven't had the same sort of level of success with scale-ups, what do you think's sort of holding that bit of the puzzle back?
Once you've got up and running?
Yeah, so those that are up and running and those that grow, so those that go from sole traders up to 10, 100,000 employees.
I think that's the big step in business. It's the big step is when you start employing people. And a lot of people, I think, are scared, frightened, and let's not kid anybody, all these sort of rules and regulations at tribunals, etc. I'm not against them, you've got to have them.
Do they hold entrepreneurs back, do you think?
Of course they do. I mean, they stop so many people employing people because, you always
Give me an example of one that you think is a problem.
Well, you can always get somebody say that you spoke to them incorrectly, or you're picking them out, or you're not being fair to them, and then all of a sudden you've got a case on your hand, and you don't really want that in the workplace. All you want to do is go to work, let everybody get a good living out of it, and all do well. So, I think the employment law holds a lot of businesses back. Yeah.
But in terms of ambition, though, it's not only the rules and regulations. I mean, presumably to scale up, there's a certain level of ambition. Do we have enough of it, do you think, in Britain, in terms of to provide that scale?
No, I don't think so. I don't think. Look, if I'm being honest, so many people ask me, I'm at this level, I've got one or two. Where do I go from here? And my answer to it is, which I got from David Cameron many years ago, was you've got to employ people. The way forward is to employ people, whether it be apprentices, engineers, admin staff. You must employ people to succeed.
So you think that entrepreneurs don't by their nature, feel like they want to
Well,
employ?
you know, they always think, like we all do, there's no one as good as me, nobody can do the job like me. And, you know, I had that thoughts also, you know, for many years. Then I realised there's some good people out there.
Right, I mean, just while we're on the issue of people, I mean, with, you know, unemployment now down to sort of 1 million and under,
Yeah.
I mean, is it hard to find people now in terms
It's
of...
getting harder, you know. I mean, it's certainly getting harder because of the apprenticeship situation. You know, we haven't done enough work to bring them through. But if the government do what I keep suggesting to them, we need to turn the job benefit money into a job allowance. Give it to the employer who can put that towards a minimum or a good living wage to a youngster. So rather than a youngster sitting at home watching Jeremy Cole all day long, he can come to work and use his job benefit money towards his wages.
Do you pay the living wage at Pimlico Plumbers?
We don't pay minimum, we pay a good living wage.
Pay a good living
wage.
wage,
I'm always a great believer, Michael, that, you know, the better you can pay people, the better they're going to respond. And
do you know what that is, just in terms of living?
In what way?
Well, I mean, what... So
well, for a plumber, for argument's sake, you know, a plumber average in London might be about 30, 40,000. If they come on air books, if they're PAYE, it'd be doubled at about 60,000. And if they're on a self-employed basis, they're guaranteed to earn 100,000.
Right. We're going to take a very short break, but we'll be back to talk more, because when we come back, I would like to talk about how this company chief became one of the capital's most prolific campaigners. We'll be right back. Welcome back. My guest today is Charlie Mullins, founder of Pimlico Plumbers. Charlie, now you're going through your own battle, a bit like Uber, in terms of the status of your team. Self-employed versus employees. I mean, your team wear your kit, they drive your vans. Are they not your employees?
No, not at all. But let me just stop you there, Michael. We're not like Uber. We pay properly, we treat people properly, and our staff have a choice whether they want to be self-employed.
But on this issue, you're going through the same thing about the status of
that's correct.
the team.
That's correct.
Right.
But ours is a lot more clear-cut. You know, ours is what they're now calling a independent worker, where Uber can't go elsewhere. They rely on them. Our workers can leave Pimlico tomorrow and get a job anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. They're skilled men, they're in demand. So they're what you now call independent contractors, and we're actually...
Do you think they feel self-employed? I mean, do you think they feel self-employed?
Of course they do. I mean, Michael, when they come on board, they have a choice. Do you want to come on at 50,000 a year, or do you want to come on at self-employed 100,000? Now, they choose that. They have all the advantages of the tax advantages and the claiming for tools and materials, and they're VAT registered. They set up an office in their own with their wife. So they have all the advantages of being self-employed. The particular case that we had, unfortunately, the chap became ill and all of a sudden he wanted to be a worker. But, you know, this guy earned £500,000 in 3 years with Pimlico Plumbers as a self-employed worker.
Right, let's move on, because...
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
We're going to the Supreme Court in February to finalise the case. You know, we've got an appeal at the Supreme Court. That's how serious I am about this guy is self-employed. And this will change the law for self-employed people in Britain.
If you win.
Well, common sense has got to prevail, hasn't it, Michael? You know what I mean?
You would hope. But,
well,
I mean, obviously, we can't comment on the details of the case.
But what I'm trying to say is, hopefully, the facts come out, and you know, that's why I say we're nothing like Uber. You know, this is going to affect 500,000 workers in the building construction industry alone. So we've got to get it right.
Well, I think it's a good segue into the point that, you know, a lot of people think of Charlie Mullins as a campaigner as well as an entrepreneur. I mean, you've been talking lately about carbon emissions and the whole toxin tax. I mean, first of all, you're talking about turning the fleet into electric vans.
That's correct, yeah.
So that's the investment. But similarly, you've been very critical in terms of what the potential costs to business are of changes in the tax regime.
Well, of course. I mean, you know, it costs a lot of money, and you know, I just think that the Mayor of London, Khan, should have spread them out over a longer period and give us longer time. At the moment, we have 200...
Do you agree with the principle, though, that polluting vehicles should pay more?
Well, at the end of the day, you know, if we're trying to, you know, save people's lives, then of course I'm for it. All I'm saying is that it's an hard pill to swallow. We have 250 vans on the road. 75 of them are being charged for this extra T charge. So Pimlico are paying £7 a week. Now, all we was asking is, could he not have spread it out over a longer period rather than do it instantly?
Do you think he's a good mayor, Sadiq?
I think it's too early to say at the moment. I mean, I'm very disappointed what he done with the T charge, I've got to be honest with you. I think, as I say, from a business point of view, it's wrong. I'm also very unhappy what he's, doing with the black cabs, pedestrianising Oxford Street. I think the problem with him is he's not in the real world of business, and maybe he should come along and see business people.
Well, I mean, maybe you should invite him through this show. I mean, I'm sure we'll be able to pass it on. But when I think of all the things, you mentioned two of the sort of issues you're involved with, but then you move on to small businesses and the banks, you move on to corporation tax. I mean, just some of the issues upon which you campaign. Why not just stick to the day job? Why not just grow the business? Why get out there and engage as a business leader as opposed to just building the business?
OK, I'll get that bit of it, but I think, I'm obviously not a politician, but a bit of common sense needs to be used at times. And I think that's what they're lacking. Somebody who can come up with and say it as it is and let them understand, they need to deal with more people that are in business that understand what's going on.
But you are very political, aren't you? I mean, a lot of things that you talk about, I mean, there's a political side to it. Do you think you could ever see yourself running for elected office in any...
Undoubtedly, yeah. Undoubtedly.
Next London mayor?
I'll give it a bash. I won't worry. I mean, I'll do a better job.
Are we announcing that live on the show today?
Well, what I'm saying is I think I can do a better job than this guy for businesses, you know what I mean? I mean, I don't think, again, he's very business-orientated. And I think it's too early to say, but put it like this, he won't be getting in next time, will he? That's for sure.
Let's move it on to Brexit. You had a 100-foot poster on your roof saying stronger in.
Yeah.
Do you think more businesses should have expressed a view in the run-up to the vote?
Undoubtedly. Undoubtedly. I think, unfortunately, a lot of businesses were misled and, the referendum came round very quickly. It was very close. And I believe if, the propaganda, the lies and all the conspiracies didn't go on, then I think would be remaining.
Do you think it's got worse for the UK and for London since that vote?
Undoubtedly. Well, certainly the economy is dropping. A lot of businesses are starting to suffer. Restaurants are quiet in London. I think sales are down in the shops of 5%. Car sales are down. So, I mean, you ain't got to have a brain in your head to work out things are not getting better. But I think we've got to get on with it, do the best job we can do and make the most of it.
And what about the Pimlico plumbers themselves? I mean, were you in step with your workforce on this issue?
Well, of course. I mean, we've already...
Well, they were all Remainers, the team.
I really don't know. I don't go politically involved with them. But all I'm saying is, people think I employ a lot of workers from the EU. I employ 2 or 3, but London construction sites will come to a standstill if they stop free movement. Coffee shops, all the bits. We need people from the UK to keep London booming.
Right. Now, it's reputed you've given over £250,000 to the Conservative Party over the years. You've also commented on Theresa May's recent performance as embarrassing. Has anything happened that's changed your mind?
Well, first of all, I haven't given £250,000, but I have given a few quid, but it's not £250,000. And second to that, look, I think Theresa's great. I don't think she's that business-orientated.
But you said Theresa May's performance is getting embarrassing, you said.
OK.
I mean, is that something that you feel she's improved on, or is...
No, not at all.
Right.
I mean, she's very weak. She's being hammered by her own sort of people. She's got everybody backstabbing her. You've seen how Boris is carrying on with things and that, and getting out of order. So,
well, I mean, you said, just to very quickly read, they're making her life hell. These are Conservative people who are destroying this woman, and it needs to stop. You mentioned Boris. Would he make a good Prime Minister?
I would think so, yeah.
But you thought was he not the bully, do you think?
Well, what I'm saying, he's using bully tactics to Theresa May, but that's her fault for not putting a stamp on it, you know what I mean? She should have put a block on it and, get him sweeping up in Downing Street or something when he gets out of order.
But you've replaced your 100-foot Brexit sign with a new one, which says, "Don't flush Britain down the 70s sewer." Give us the reason for why you're doing that.
Well, they're talking about, if Labour and Corbyn and if they got in. And we don't want to go backwards in life. Don't want to go back to 3 days a week and, rationing things and this type of thing. The country's booming. All we need to do now is, if I'm being honest, get a new Prime Minister and start moving forward.
But don't you ever think I should just stick to the plumbing? I should just, I should basically change the sign, turn it into deals, let all those commuters see the benefits of the business? Or does this create great publicity for the business?
Well, obviously, you know, we're the most recognised plumbing company in the world, but the real point I'm getting at is that, you know, I'm just speaking the way I see it, and it's common sense, and I get a lot of support from it. You know, a lot of people. I mean, as an MP rung us up the other day, said she had heard me on Radio 4, and
but wouldn't you prefer her to ring you up as a customer?
Well, she rang up for it.
Oh, right,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. She didn't just ring
choice
up
of the MP.
No, she said, I quite like what you had to say on radio. I thought, look, I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but what I'm saying is, from a working class background, you know, I'm all for people going to work and all for people doing well. But I'm not into these, you know, busybodies that just go round in circles.
I'm sort of thinking if Donald Trump ran on the campaign of Clear the Swamp, you could be like, clean the drains. I mean, it could be the big change in life.
Well, you know, what I think they should do is listen to businesses and people that speak common sense.
How good is it now? I mean, comparing it back to when you started to where we are now, man, how good is it as a time to be a business founder
I think it's a great
boss?
time. I've got to be honest with you. You know, I'm often asked, when's the best time to start a business? The best time to start a business is when it suits you.
If you could start now, if I could give you your
Set of
15-year-old
drain
son, you're saying what?
A set of drain rods.
A set of drain rods. You'd still say in the same business. Could you see if you could? I mean, presumably, as your children are going to get involved in the business, it's still a good time.
Would I still do it?
Yeah.
Undoubtedly, but maybe I'd take the political side a bit more serious. But, you know, cool, yeah. I mean, plumbing has been, you know, my apprenticeship has served me where I am today. It inspires a lot of people. And, you know, I don't believe there's nothing wrong with someone being successful.
Is there a lot of automation going on in this area? I mean, when you hear about the kind of, you know, robots, AI, automation, things like that, is plumbing one of those sort of areas that could get disrupted?
I don't think so, no. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, we offer a very personal service and you know, you're never going to get a robot or machine to turn up at someone's house and, you know, do the job and make it clean and tidy. So personal service and a quality service will always be in demand. And
I've got to get this last question in. What advice would you give yourself at 15? If I could take you back now to the 15-year-old Charlie Mullins, what would you tell yourself now in terms of the life you've lived?
Leave school at 14.
Leave school at 14. Charlie Mullins, we're going to have to leave it there. And a big thank you to my guest this week, Charlie Mullins. Pimlico Plumbers, it's a London success story classic. Graft, grit and determination. This is how you can make it big. And if this tale of our times has left you wanting more, there are just 2 weeks to wait, for we will return for the next Capital Conversation. Look forward to seeing you then.